Good morning. It's Wellness Wednesday. I hope you are well. We're having some beautiful weather in North Queensland at the moment. We've actually had some winter days, which have been wonderful. It's nice to put on a cardigan or a hoodie and wear it for the entire day. It's nice to wear long trousers. It's nice to have a duvet or a doona on the bed and enjoy that. So I've really relished this last few days of cold weather. Sadly, today it's eased off a bit. 3 days of winter was not enough for me, but let's see, we might have some more to come. You never know what happens in the tropics. So thanks for joining me. I thought I'd share with you some insights today into personal responsibility and share with you a personal conversation I had last night with my friend Anna. My Ukrainian friend Anna, who's a refugee in Krakow. We spent a couple of hours on Zoom last night talking about her well-being of Ukrainian women as well as children, and also some fundraising events and activities that she's working on and that I'm giving her some support with. But we talked a lot during this conversation about personal responsibility, self-preservation, sacrificing things in our own life when we believe in something, and giving up on certain things so we can give our time, effort and attention for something that's bigger than ourselves. So we talked a lot about those things, and I guess the problem that we face in Ukraine at the moment is the war is been going on too long. It's a very ongoing thing. It doesn't look like it will end anytime soon. Pundits thought that, by August or by the summer it will be over. And I think in a lot of ways with the European Union and all the support that neighboring countries have been providing to Ukrainian citizens, they thought there would be an end in sight. But as time goes by, the end in sight and this scale of destruction and devastation is not just going to be fixed. You can't just end the war and everything will be back to normal tomorrow. That's not the case. So we've talked a lot about that with people over the last few weeks, how we need to think about the long-term impact. The global impacts are only really going to be felt as time goes on with food shortages and price rises and so on and so forth, but it's the whole generation of refugees, as well as the whole generation of children who will be traumatized or who have no homes to go back to when the war's finished, and their fathers and the families that stayed behind will be suffering with PTSD, trauma, and so on and so forth. So we talked a lot about how the work that Anna's doing now in Krakow to help women and children, whilst it feels a little bit like a luxury to have a kids club and to have kids doing arts and crafts and going on tours and having a summer school, feels like luxury items. Those things are essential because we want those children that we can, as many as possible, to have some normality in their life right now and to have some joy and to have things to look forward to in the days and weeks ahead. Because we don't know what they're going to be faced with when they go back home, and indeed they probably know too much about what's been happening back at home, so they're suffering in a constant state of stress as well. So we talked a lot about that, but ultimately where we got to in the end is Anna, like many other women I know, assumes a lot of personal responsibility for this situation, personal responsibility for the other children, for the other mums, for the people around her. And it's the weight of that personal responsibility that you can't sometimes just shake off or shift, because after a while your sense of personal responsibility, if you're not mindful of it, can really affect your well-being. And this happens in normal life, not just in war life. And we coined a new phrase last night, which is war-life balance. And I've had to have a little bit of war-life balance this last few weeks and also practice some self-preservation. So I talked to Anna about practicing some self-preservation, understanding the weight of her personal responsibility, and how even if she just stopped doing everything she was doing now and went home to Kiev, which is also a consideration, that she hasn't failed at anything. Every little thing that she's done has helped some person, and that's a success in itself. So there's no failure, and ultimately she's safe, and every choice that she has and every option and decision she has to make at the moment is a luxury, because she has a luxury of choice, she has a luxury of options, she has a luxury of choosing how she spends her time. And there's far more people less fortunate than her. And it made me think a lot recently in my own life, as well as in the life that we lead in our safe environment. We have the luxury of moaning, and the luxury of too many decisions, and the luxury of too many choices. And I had to buy a new laptop this week. My laptop that I'm using is about to cark it at any moment, and so I thought, okay, before this one carks it, I need to invest in a new laptop. But then there's multitude of decisions. How much am I going to spend? What type am I going to get? What do I really need as a middle-aged woman versus what do I need if I'm a whiz-bang graphics operator? So I really had to make some choices, and then ultimately it comes down to affordability as well. So, and rather than be stressed about this decision, I just was grateful the fact that I actually have choice, have options, and the laptop has already been dispatched and will be here tomorrow, and which I'm grateful for, because things can get to us really quickly. So in a safe environment in which many of us live, the luxury of moaning is something that we take for granted, versus the luxury that others don't have in far worse circumstances than us, because the continual suffering and uncertainty. And that's also what we talked about. Every time we feel uncertain, or every time we feel stressed, the counter lever to that is, I'm safe, I'm stressed, I'm fed up, I'm safe, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm safe. And so you can find a way to counter lever or balance out the war-life balance effect that you may be going through. And that's not necessarily applicable to everybody, I understand that. But if you are safe and you have options and you have choices, then you're in a far better position than many other people. And we talked about, and I've thought about a lot how we find joy in times of hardships, because joy really is a good anchor to have for yourself. If you can look for joy and find joy and notice joy, then you'll have a far better grasp of the situation, and you can in some ways use joy as a self-preservation anchor too. So we discussed that quite a bit. And step 6 of my book, funnily enough, which aligns with the calendar month of June, is called Joy. So I'll share with you a couple of snippets from step 6 today. So this is my book, and step 6 is Joy. There. So, and I wrote a poem about joy, which I'll read to you in a moment. And then I've got a little recap, which I'll share with you. So, realistically, this morning I went jogging, just 7 kilometers. I'm doing a long run on Friday, and I'm looking forward to it, which is, I never thought I'd say I'm looking forward to a long run. I'm planning to run 25 kilometers on Friday morning. So today I just did a short run, which is 7 kilometers. So my whole mindset around running has changed, and what's short versus long. So this was the photo of me in the paper last week after the Mackay run, Marina Half Marathon, and someone commented to me, "Oh, you look like you have a real joy for your running," which is very different to what the article is about. Ryder steps up to help Ukrainians. So this is a really interesting thing, because I am enjoying running. It does bring me joy. It brings me joy to help and support my friends as well, but also it's a very painful thing. So there's a balance. There's the war-life balance to the joy that I feel through supporting and helping versus the hardships of training, the hardships of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, the hardships of, feeling that my friends are not safe and all those things. So, but finding joy. So I was reminded when someone said to me, "Oh, you look like you're having joy in your running." It did remind me a little bit, actually. Well, I am getting joy from what I'm doing, and Anna and I talked about that too. She's getting joy from the work that she's doing. And this morning was the most spectacular full moon. So I saw that full moon at almost 6 o'clock this morning on one side of the footbridge, and on the other side of the footbridge was this magnificent sunrise. So I just stopped on the bridge and enjoyed those views for a few moments to remind myself that whilst things feel hard, there's joy everywhere, and you can look for it and find it and use it as an anchor. So that's really what I'm doing at the moment, and have tried to remind Anna to do, and also to think about what is her self-preservation plan for the next few weeks, so she can continue the work that she has been doing if she decides that she wants to, because we can't necessarily go on giving and giving and giving and not looking after ourselves, or not processing our emotions, or not honoring our feelings. And to know, sadly, last week Anna's grandmother died, and she can't go to the funeral, obviously. So the grandmother died in Ukraine. She's in Poland, so going to the funeral is a big challenge at the moment for many reasons. So she's processing her grief. And I'm sharing this with you because I shared with her last week that, I was processing grief when my friend died, at the same time as processing the big grief around the Ukraine war. And I had to practice self-preservation for the entire week, so that after I came to terms with everything, I could come back strong again and keep going forward, and to have a renewed focus. And rather than feel the sadness and the grief, it's channeling thing into positive way. And that's really what she's been doing too, is to channel all of her energies into positive outcomes for other people. But she also needs to spend a little bit of time caring for herself, spending time with her son, and finding her own personal joy too. So those were some good lessons which we reflected on last night, because when we constantly make sacrifices for things that we believe in, such as she has been doing and I have been doing, there comes a time when you have to balance out or weigh up the cost of the sacrifice, the cost of the personal gain versus the personal loss is not the right word, but personal, the sacrifice really does cost you something. So it might cost you money, it might cost you time, it might cost you your well-being. So it's really rationalizing the cost of your sacrifices in the pursuit of chasing and doing what you believe in. So there was lots of good food for thought there for both of us to share our experiences. And ultimately, sometimes we just really need to have a good conversation about these things with someone who gets it, or who cares, or can be empathetic, or can see all sides of it, and who ultimately will tell you, don't worry, even if you stop now, you haven't failed. And I think we all need to hear that sometimes. Even if you stop now, you haven't failed. So maybe it's just the case of changing direction. So speaking about directions and not stopping and not failing, it's less than 3 weeks till my first marathon at the Gold Coast. So my ambition is to keep myself healthy and well, so I can continue to raise money for my friends, Ukrainians, to buy some wheelchairs and prosthetics for those that can no longer walk and no longer run because they've lost their limbs in the war. And that's really a big motivation for me to keep running. It's also a good motivation for me to keep my body healthy, to fuel my body with good food, to stretch my body, and just to to look after myself. So I'm doing that as much as I can. So here is, I'll read to you this poem, which is in step 6, called "What the Heck is Joy?" I think some of it will resonate with you. I wrote this poem in January 2019, and it still speaks to me now. What the heck is joy? What the heck is joy? It's playing on my mind. It's like some forbidden toy I just can't seem to find. I've written it down, mulled over it a bit. This illustrious crown, it doesn't quite fit. Somewhere deep inside, I know it must be, but surely it isn't just me that thinks this joy is some kind of lark, not the hallowed ground, away from the dark. Maybe it's just joy doesn't feel normal. I'm used to feeling things a bit more formal. This word joy is being tossed around, online, in circles, in books I have found. I don't think life is so simple as the three-letter word that can spread like a dimple on our face, in our heart, in the deepest part of our body, our mind, of the ethereal kind. What is this joy, I have to ask? Can I get some? Do I have to fast? I'm waiting in line, I'm waiting my turn. Perhaps it's something I have to earn. One day there'll be a knock at my door. That joy will arrive and go straight to the core. I'll care for it and I'll watch it thrive. I'll spread that joy far and wide. For joy is something you cannot hide. It's kindness, it's love, it's being at peace. It ebbs and it flows, to say the least. It's three little letters, that's joy, and it matters. So that's my poem, What the Heck is Joy, which coincides with step 6 of my book. And the recap in step 6 of my book basically says, notice moments of joy and really feel them and then talk about them. So the sunset, the sunrise, the moon, full moon today was my moments of joy. I'm sharing them, I'm talking about them, I'm remembering them. Joy is innate in all of us, and our soul is fed from joy. Nourish your soul with joy. So when we notice joy, we feel joy, we cultivate joy, we nourish our own soul. Develop your soft skills. Impress yourself and others with your care, attention, thoughtfulness, love, gratitude, and leave people wanting more. That's important to me because I think our soft skills are largely the ones that are overlooked in life, and if we keep developing, working on our soft skills through personal development, mindfulness, gratitude and love, it keeps people interested in who we are. It also helps us develop a greater understanding of self and others, which ultimately leads to more joy. Connect to your breath several times throughout the day and notice nature. So connecting with nature is a great way to cultivate joy, as well as breathing and feeling safe. And then number 5 is meditate on joy. So that's a recap to step 6. And some quotes that I love. Without pain, how could we know joy? When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy, from Rumi. So, that's really important to me at the moment, to reflect on where is my joy in all of the things that I'm doing in terms of my running and fundraising and working, and work is busy and the life is busy with the kids, but ultimately it's about self-preservation and understanding that if I want my mind, body and soul and spirit to be healthy, I need to cultivate joy as well, and to nourish my soul with joy. So thanks for watching. I hope you are well where you are. I hope something that I've talked about today speaks to you. If you want to have a chat about anything such as personal responsibility, self-preservation, caring for yourself, just give me a shout. All right, take care. Bye.